Hey, Knox County students. Welcome to 5th grade social studies. Today we are going to be focusing on Tennessee history. So to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Natalie Pratt and I'm a 5th grade teacher at North Shore Elementary School, and I teach social studies and science. So today what we're going to be reviewing are several standards, starting with the Overmountain Men and their role during the Battle of Kings Mountain. So I get to go back to the American Revolution with you all. The lost state of Franklin. Then we're going to jump over to the Southwest Territory and wrap it up with Tennessee becoming a state. So super exciting journey that we're going to be taking together. So before I begin, go ahead and grab a piece of paper and a pencil, because throughout the lesson, we're going to be doing some stop and jots. Just real quick, check in with you all, make sure you're paying attention. And if you don't have paper or pencil, it's not a big deal whatsoever. You can just think about the answers in your head. And don't worry about it, because I'm going to be giving you the answers right after I ask them. So go ahead right now, pause the video, take just a second, and go grab a piece of paper and a pencil. And come right back. Okay, so welcome back, and let's keep going. So I'm super excited that I get to take you back to the American Revolution. Let's go back to the year 1780. I love the American Revolution because I taught 4th grade for many years, and it was one of my favorite things to teach. So with this standard, I get to go back and revisit it. So let's go back to 4th grade and recall. The American Revolution was when the Patriots were fighting for their independence from the British. So what we have is, in general, we call them the colonists, and that's kind of who we're going to call them today. Colonists and the British were fighting, and basically, when we had to ask the king for help during the French and Indian War, after that war was over, he put out the Proclamation of 1763. That proclamation stated that no one was supposed to be settling west of the Appalachian Mountains, that land was for the Native Americans. And as we know, those Native Americans weren't very happy with us settling on their land based on prior lessons that you've learned over the course of the year. So if you're having trouble remembering anything about the American Revolution, you can hop on over to Brain Pop. They've got great videos. The causes of the American Revolution and the American Revolution, I think, are two of the videos that are really good to help you remember what you learned in 4th grade, which attaches onto this standard since we're talking about that. Okay, so here we go. Stop and jot really quickly, or just think, who fought in the American Revolutionary War? And what did the king tell the colonists not to do? So pause the video and then come back and I'll give you the answers. Okay, so who fought in the Revolutionary War? Well, it was the colonists and the British. You could have said Patriots and the British. And then what did the king tell the colonists not to do? He said that they weren't allowed to settle west of the Appalachian Mountains. And of course, we'll find out if people listened or not as we dive into this. So the year is 1780. The American Revolution has been dragging on for 5 long years, and all of the fighting was happening in the colonies. So when I talk about the mountain frontier, we're talking about those people that literally went over the mountain. And you've learned about some of these people in the Tennessee history lessons that we've reviewed over the last few weeks. And those are the people that we're speaking about. But those people that went over the mountain weren't really affected because the fighting was happening in the colonies. So that is the mountain frontier. And those are, we call them frontiersmen. They're the men that lived in that area. So what's going to happen is we have a cause and effect. We have the British commander, Lord Cornwallis. He orders the invasion of these over-mountain territories because the king said, don't go over and live, and they did. And Tennessee settlers are going to feel threatened and compelled to react. It's cause and effect. It makes total sense. They're like, oh, wait a minute, they're threatening us. So they didn't really want to fight in any of the battles, but since they were threatened, they had to act. Remember, as we talk about these people, that these were your farmers. These were not military people. They did not have uniforms. They fought differently. They were not part of an actual army, but they bonded together. So in September of 1780, more than 1,000 men from Virginia, North Carolina, they met up with some Tennesseans at Sycamore Shoals. And from there, they set out on a 10-day, 180-mile march across the mountains. That's hard for me to even wrap my brain around. To think 180 miles, and most of it would have been on foot. There were no cars, if you remember. So this would have definitely been a trek. But it also shows these men and their determination to defend their land. So as we go to the Battle of Kings Mountain, which is where they fought, it's in South Carolina. These Overmountain Men are fighting to protect their land against the British. The Overmountain Men were called so many things, but I think that the two that I kept reading over and over again was how brave and determined that they were. They were successful, and this really demoralized the British because, as I put on here, they never thought a bunch of ragtag men, and that's kind of the way the Overmountain Men were referred to a lot, because they were just good old men that grabbed their weapons and went to battle for their land. They should have probably never beaten the British because they were an army, and they did those. So why are we even talking about this? It was an important victory for the Patriots. It boosted their morale. They helped Americans go on to win the American Revolution and ultimately their independence. Thomas Jefferson even was quoted talking about the Battle of Kings Mountain, saying that this was the turn of the side of success. And it has been mentioned in many, many articles that I've read that this really was one of the battles that gave the Patriots such good morale to continue on fighting. And as Thomas Jefferson said, it was a turn in the war. So super exciting. So let's stop and jot. We just learned about the Overmountain Men. So explain to me who they are. Why did they not want to fight in this war? Why did they end up fighting? And what was the outcome of the Battle of Kings Mountain? Okay, so go ahead, hit that pause button, and then jump back on here, and I'll give you the answers. Okay, so welcome back. Okay, the Overmountain Men were the men that settled over the Appalachian Mountains. Why did they not want to fight in the war? Because it wasn't their battle. They didn't want to fight. They'd already made their journey across the mountains, and at the end of the day, this wasn't their war they were fighting in. However, they did end up fighting because the British threatened them. And once they felt that they were threatened, they had to go on and fight. So what was the outcome? As we just said, the colonists and the Overmountain Men won, and it really demoralized the British that they were beaten by this group of people. So it was a really cool battle. So now let's go into the lost state of Franklin. So this is really interesting to me because I don't think a lot of people know about the lost state of Franklin. So hopefully as we do this, you remember what your teachers taught you about this. So the American Revolution is over, and what's going to happen is North Carolina claimed the Tennessee region. However, Tennessee, the people that lived there really did not want to be governed by North Carolina for two main reasons, and there's others as well, but one of them was the state capital was way too far away. They couldn't communicate with the state easily. There's a mountain range in between the two, so that was tough. And the state couldn't protect them from the Native American attacks. And as we know, that is going on a lot for all of these settlers that went over the mountain. You've learned about, Little Carpenter and all of those attacks. And you also learned about other situations where these forts were attacked by the Native Americans. So the people that lived in Tennessee wanted to be able to have support, and they were just too far away. So what ends up happening is in 1784, delegates from several counties met to form a new state, and they called it Franklin after Benjamin Franklin, right? So they elected John Sevier the governor, and then what they did was they elected legislature. They wrote a constitution, set up a court system, and even formed a militia. So they were doing it right. And they had big hopes and plans. So I'm going to go ahead over here and show you on this. You can see that this is not the entire state of Tennessee. This is a pretty small portion. I've got on the next slide it broken down into the counties that would have been part of this. So you can see, again, not the entire state, just basically Northeast Tennessee is the area that we're discussing. So, yay! Franklin was Tennessee's first attempt at statehood. However, it did not last very long. Hence, we do not live in the state of Franklin right now. So, sadly enough, it didn't work. But it was a great attempt. So, why did it fail? In 1785, leaders from Franklin applied for statehood, but they didn't get the required votes for Congress. I'm going to tell you in just a few minutes all of the things it takes to become a state, and it's just really not easy. There was a lot of disagreements in Franklin over control of the government. And then at the end of the day, Franklin just did not have a strong enough economy to pay for everything that they needed. So sadly enough, in 1789, the state had fallen apart, hence the name Lost State of Franklin. So that is going to lead us, though, into another attempt at becoming a state. And this is a really good thing. So after the Lost State of Franklin, it leads us to North Carolina giving all of its western region, which is basically Tennessee, as you can see on the map right there, to Congress. They had a debt they needed to pay. A debt means that you owe money to someone, or you owe, in some cases, even goods to someone. So since North Carolina owed, I'm assuming, money that they had to pay off, they gave them the Southwest Territory. Now, this is a good thing for us. A territory is a good thing. So what ends up happening is William Blount comes from North Carolina, and he was appointed our governor. So this is exciting. He's a fabulous man. He does a lot of wonderful stuff. So in 1792, Blount moved the capital to Knoxville. So right here where we live, which is pretty awesome. And then in 1795, Blount was the one that applied for statehood once we had a high enough population. Again, I'll explain in just a minute. And so that's going to lead us in the corner over there. There is a picture of the Blount Mansion. And guys, that is located right in downtown Knoxville, which is pretty cool. You can actually visit it. I know we went a couple years ago when I was teaching 4th grade, and we got to go inside, and it's just neat to see how the homes were built and the way the homes are organized. So right now, you could go on a virtual tour on their website. You can go around and see it. And then maybe, late summer, early fall, you could actually get your feet inside the door and get to see the way that everything was built. It was really neat. And it really goes to show the Blount Mansion, the level of effort to preserve his home is really a testament to how much he put forth for our state. And we'll talk about him again in another second. Okay, so what does it take to become a state? It wasn't easy, to say the least. You had to have a population of over 60,000. Now, today, that doesn't seem like a lot of people. But remember, this is the area that was over the mountains. So it was, at the very beginning of all this wasn't there weren't that many people. But that's how many you had to. This is just to apply. You had to have a majority vote. A constitutional convention had to be held to create a state constitution. So explaining that, we have the United States Constitution that we created, but then every state has their own constitution as well. So that had to also be created before you could even be considered to be a state. Then they had to propose it to Congress, and then finally Congress had to approve it, which all of those steps would have been hard just to organize alone. So you can see how hard it would have been. Which leads us into Tennessee, finally going to become a state. So we have the Lost State of Franklin, and then we have the Southwest Territory. Finally, Tennessee is going to get to become a state. So super exciting. So Governor Blount, we love him, remember? He called for a constitutional convention in Knoxville. So all of this is happening here where we live, which is really cool. 55 delegates met, and they drafted the new constitution for our state. And they decided there that they would also call it Tennessee. And John Sevier was elected, and not appointed, but elected our first governor. After a month of intense debate in Congress, the men got Congress to compromise, and on June 1st, 1796, Tennessee became the 16th state in the Union. So it's pretty awesome. Think about it. I mean, we were the 16th state. That's really early to get our statehood, and it's really, really awesome. So that is how we finally got it, and it was because of Governor Blount, William Blount, pulling all of this together. And that's why, understanding all the effort that he put forth is really, really interesting. This guy, John Sevier, that they elected to be our first governor of our state. So William Blount was during the territory. John Sevier is the first. So you might recognize his last name. Sevierville, Sevier County. Oh my gosh, a lot of Sevier Highway. You can actually visit his home. It's here in Knoxville as well. It's in South Knoxville, which is, again, so cool that these two men have their homes here that we can visit. So you can go to Marble Springs. That's what it's called, his homestead. It's a historical site is. And visit that website right now. And again, once it gets later in the summer, early fall, get your feet in there and see the house, or you could even drive by and see the home. Researching John Sevier would be very interesting. I'm going to give a writing prompt in a minute, including him, and just saying, if you look into what all this guy did for our state, it's very awesome. So we contribute a lot to them in Knoxville with having their homes here. Okay, so to wrap it up, Tennessee became a state in 1796. John Sevier was our first governor, and Knoxville was the first state capital until 1812. So again, Knoxville, pretty cool that we can say that we were the first state capital of our state. So pretty awesome. So stop and jot, last one. This is about becoming a state. What population does it take to become a state? How long did Congress debate over whether Tennessee would become a state? And then Tennessee was declared the what state of the Union? Go ahead and answer those questions and then hop back on here. Okay, so welcome back. Here we go. So the answer to this is that it takes 60,000 people to become a state, which again, back then, that is a decent amount of people. Now it doesn't seem like a lot, not a big number. How long did Congress debate? They debated over a month. So I don't think everybody was in agreement right out of the gate on us becoming a state. But once they finally agreed and compromised, Tennessee was declared the 16th state of the Union. So we finally got our statehood. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that little review of those standards. Next week on our mini video, I will be bringing you a couple fun games to play. I'm going to create some Kahoots, skim kits, and quizzes, and I'll provide those codes for you to log on and do some review that way, so you guys get to have educational tablet time, as we'll say. And then make sure, if you get a chance, to visit History Bill. It's TennesseeHistoryForKids.org. And he has put so much effort and time and love into his videos, and the website is wonderful. I know my own students, I love it when I'm like, we've got History Bill, and they're like, yay. So if you get on his site and do some, all his videos are on YouTube as well. But anyway, he's done a really good job providing Tennessee history for us. So now on to your task. Okay, so what I put in the packet this week were the workbook pages from Gallopade. I really feel like they had really good tasks that went along with all the information, and the information that I put out here on the video pretty much came from that resource, so it would match up. So simply do the workbook pages, and then we'll come back next week, and I'll go over some of the answers with you all, and we'll do some of the other fun games that I've got planned as well. So I put on here, you can always log on to Gallopade if you have your login information. It's the same thing that I put in the packet, and it's online, but you can go on there if you want. Okay, and the writing extension tasks that I'm providing that are optional, of course, are write how you would feel as an original settler in Tennessee. Would you want to become a state, or are you prepared to stay and not become a state because you didn't want to join the Union? Explain how you would feel. And then I really like the second one, which would be using the facts you've learned about William Blount. And I'm even going to add in John Sevier. Write a biography about their life, including Tennessee and all the stuff that they did. Don't include their childhood because, as we know, when we write biographies that they're specific to our Tennessee history, that's the information that we need to include. But that would be wonderful, and it'd be really cool to research that and then go on their websites and do some virtual tours as well. So, okay, guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed this quick video reviewing some Tennessee history with you guys. Can't wait to be back next week with another quick video, some games to play, and to review the task. Hope you guys are staying healthy. Thanks.